have to do with protecting the environment, correct? Okay, and then the logistical problems, that doesn't have to do with protecting the environment, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so nothing in your plan deliberately protects the environment.
Except for the policy we're changing.
Nothing in your plan. Nothing in your plan. You went for the kill. No, don't go for the kill. You're saying, you're right. Why did I even make this one AC? You're right. You should win the round. So don't ask the ultimate question. You impeach by innuendo. You were on a great roll, then you asked, and I went, ah! And it was like fingernails on the chalkboard. Don't do that. But no, that was, you understand it. Just don't ask your last question.
All right. Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing kind of
Yeah, so am I. Okay. The resolution is that the United States should significantly reform its environmental policy, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, a loan is something where I lend someone money and they have to pay it back, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, your mandate is that Congress should ban loan guarantees, correct?
No,
Nuclear loan guarantees. All right. So Congress is banning loans, correct? Under your
nuclear
plan.
loan. Not loans necessarily, but loan guarantee.
Right. All right. So when your plan is passed, Congress will sign a law to ban loans to nuclear power plants. Right?
No, they'll ban loan guarantees.
Okay.
They're completely different.
Okay. Can I do that in a round? Okay. Can I start over? Because
Yeah.
you're
Hey, try it again, Chloe.
Okay. All right. The resolution that we're supposed to be debating today is the United States should significantly reform its environmental policy, correct? All right. Now, a loan is when if I lent you money, that would be a loan, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, in your plan, you are banning loan guarantees to nuclear builders, correct?
Nuclear power plant.
Nuclear power plant companies. All right, and our resolution is that the United States should significantly reform its environmental policy, correct? All right.
What are you trying to get at here?
I'm trying to get at that the plan is banning loans, and banning loans, that's what his plan is in of itself, and that in and of itself is not environmental policy. Because all Congress is doing under his plan is banning loans. So even if it might affect nuclear power plants, but in effect, all his plan is doing is stopping loans.
Okay, okay. If this is where you want to go, now look, I want to show this just to illustrate this here. Okay, if you're thinking this is a ban, the argument you want to make is what Chloe's putting forward. The point you want to make in the cross-examination is this is merely a ban on loan guarantees for building nuclear plants, and it's really not going to have a significant effect on energy policy or environmental policy.
Even if it does, all he's doing is banning loans. So even if that might affect tree and whale over here, it's not. He's not changing environmental policy in his plan.
Okay, this is the way I would do it. Now again, you want to think, and this is what I think you've got debate disease, everybody here. Okay, we're gonna try to inoculate you, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You want to think concrete and bite size. You want to think of bite size. Okay, so you do it like this. This is the way I would do it. Your plan would ban loan guarantees for nuclear plants.
From the government.
From the government. Okay.
Stop it.
When your plan goes into effect, companies could build nuclear reactors.
If they had the loans for it.
They could build big holding tanks for radioactive rods. They could build 100 plants around the country. They could build 1,000, couldn't they?
If people would guarantee them.
They could have tons of uranium and plutonium in every one of them. They could have huge, they could have waste dumps for all the nuclear stuff. They could have, do you see what I'm doing? Do you see what I'm doing? Is that you give the examples that I think you've gotta not think, I think you're trying to go too much for the conclusion in the abstract, and you want a concrete thing to basically say, now what I'm arguing is, the conclusion is, you can still build all these things. The loan guarantees are not gonna cut off the building of these things. They're still gonna get built. And all the environmental problems and all these other problems are still gonna exist. So that's, what you do is you just illustrate them like that. That's the way that you do that. You're being a very nice pinata here. Do you understand do you see that? You want to be specific, and then just keep repeating and do it by innuendo. Okay.
The point I was trying to get at was, what he's essentially doing is say if my policy was, I must change my policy towards my dog, my plan is to open my door. That's my plan. It affects the dog because the dog can now come into my house, but all my plan is doing is opening a door, and that in itself is not policy towards my dog. I'm just opening
Well, nobody goes up and takes their dog and brings him in the house.
Okay. I would defer to the judgment of the people who are more experienced in the debate. I think that is not the kind of question or point you want to make in cross-examination. I think you do it in your rebuttal type speeches. I think it's too difficult, and I think you want to get more easier to understand concepts for cross-examination. So maybe that's something I haven't said before, but I think that you've got to be careful not to be too abstract or way out in what you're loading in your cross-examination. Just have much more modest goals for cross-examination. And I think that because I think it's too hard for people to follow it when you're getting a recalcitrant witness to get to that point. You just want to be able to state it right out.
Okay.
So you want to make something like they can still build the plants, they can still pollute, they can still everybody glowing at night, all that still happens. That's what you want to do with him, to kind of make that, and then you tie it all together when you're giving your actual speeches.
Okay.
So, Mr. Lawrence, if I'm understanding right, we should probably have a conclusion in our mind that we want to get out of them, that we want to be able to say in our next speech. We want them to set that up for us by saying
Yes, you want to set up the thing, but also you just want to be careful that it's the right one. And that you want to say, you're not going to ask the ultimate question, you're just going to simply set the table by specific, concrete examples that you repeat, and it's a connect the dots thing, so everybody kind of knows where you're going with this. But you're not stating ultimately what you're doing. Okay, Mr. Hoisin.
Okay. Would you agree with me that when one of your banks gives a loan guarantee without reviewing the nuclear whatever company, that's a bad thing for the bank to do?
If they do that, yes, that's.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me that when companies and banks make bad decisions like that, they pay for it ultimately?
Yeah.
All right. Now, would you agree with me that enough bad decisions will put a bank out of business even?
Correct.
Okay. Now, would that have been a bad bank?
Yes.
Okay. Are there a lot of bad banks?
Probably.
All right. Would you agree that a bad bank going out of business is eliminating a bad thing?
Yes, indeed, which is why this policy is going to help us. Which is the
Ben, just time out, Ben. I was waiting, why did you come to life at about question number 1? Is this a bad thing? Are there bad banks? I mean, you just characterization. No, I wouldn't say that. No, I would say that. It depends on asset management and all of this. And what we're trying to do is, he was giving you, I would say your questions are they're too esoteric, and I think that you've got to get them more concrete about, if you're going to make the point about banks going out of business because they're making bad loans, I think you've got to ask it a little bit more Lego block-like. I can't think right away the way how to do it, but I think that just maybe because Ben's getting a bit fatigued here, that he didn't, because I'm just thinking oh, no, don't ask questions like that, you're going to get them thrown right back in your face.
I wouldn't have done that normally, but I was thinking, because one of his whole points